Greetings and peace. I hope you and yours are doing well today, wherever you might be watching this from. Now, the title of today's presentation will be the aspect of white privilege and seeing that from my perspective as a Pakistani-American growing up in this country. So basically, you see the aspect of white privilege mainly portrayed from the African American community, and they have their own struggles and their own rights that they're fighting for, and they have my support and prayers in their endeavors. But with this one, I will point out, like, from my perception as an immigrant and as a Muslim American from Pakistan, what I was able to see through my eyes and through my experience. And I represent myself only. I don't represent any organization or individual or any authority of any kind. This is just me as a free man under free speech, and I hope you take the time and the open-mindedness to listen to my perspective. So this is the quote that I found when I was scrolling through some things, and this quote stood out to me. I don't know who the original author is, but it's attributed to that individual as it was found in a public commons area that I was looking through. So it says that the friendly reminder that white privilege doesn't mean your life isn't hard, can't be hard, or was never hard. It means the color of your skin will never be a factor in what's causing your difficulties. So myself growing up as a immigrant from Pakistan in this country, of course I had white friends, black friends, friends from all backgrounds. It comes with the territory when you grow up in this country, that you will find individuals from all backgrounds and all walks of life. And I've seen even my white friends who had to grow up with financial difficulties, and they had to struggle, and they had to go through the things that they had to go through, work hard and all that stuff. Yeah, that's fine. I understand that. But what this is pointing out is that it's your background and the color of your skin which doesn't automatically make you a target. And that is the truth. And growing up here, I came to this country when I was 5 years old. I grew up and I realized, when you go to white neighborhoods and you're in like minority neighborhoods, there's a night and day difference in terms of like the cleanliness of the area, the way that your local city or township is protecting or taking care of the area compared to what they would do for a minority owned area. Same thing in the school system. You have better opportunities, they have better teachers, better classes, they're being prepared for college, while the other kids are being prepared for like the community college pipeline or the school to prison pipeline or the military pipeline. While you will never find these things in rich areas or rich white areas, and you could see the cleanliness of the neighborhood, the way the social services are there, the other services are there, quality of safety, quality of just everything being at a top-notch level. And that is the privilege. I mean, myself as a Pakistani-American, I have a clean record, I have a degree, I have all these things, references, good resume, but I see that my people usually fall into these four categories, and the system or the systematic racism does not allow my people to progress out of four fields, which is being an Uber or cab driver, working at a gas station or a 7-Eleven, owning your own business, because that's what many in the Asian community do, including Pakistanis who are part of the South Asian community as well. Because if no one's going to hire you, then you have to do your own thing. Or there's an immigrant-owned business that's owned by an immigrant, and he's the only one that will hire you. So why? Because anywhere you go, you have to deal with certain aspects of racism. It's natural. I worked in white places, and I've dealt with microaggression and passive-aggressive behavior, and them trying to run me out of workplaces while pretending to be my friends. And unfortunately that's true. I'm not saying all white people are like that. I'm not generalizing, but like I said, what the point of this video is that it's from my perception as an immigrant in this country and what I've seen. So yeah, the aspect of not being able to progress out of these four fields because that's where they want to keep you, right? Just like working at the 7-Eleven, the immigrant who's standing on his feet for 12 to 13 hours a day working for scraps, And then you have the guy coming from corporate, who's either a white man or a white lady, who's getting paid 10 times as more as you, and they just come and tell you what to do and all that stuff, and then be on their way. And that is the truth. That is the truth. Myself, one time I was in high school, and it was my senior year, and the township that I'm in, it's basically one township but two separate towns. One is basically for the immigrants and non-white people, and the other area is basically for the white people. So it's like two separate zip codes in one township. So I was happy to, and of course everything is better over there in terms of emergency services, response time, and access to better neighborhoods and services and everything else in general that you can put about in quality of life, job opportunities, better support, etc., and not being looked at as a criminal or a target. And that's what happened. Was I was walking home, and the neighbor, whoever it was, had called the police on me. And thankfully, I had a white friend with me who was walking with me too. And that was my saving factor. It's unbelievable. Had that individual not been with me, who knows what would have happened. So that was that shield of safety that was there with me, because we were walking home together. And he was the one who explained to the authorities that showed up that we're just walking home together, and that was it. Had I not showed up, who knows what they would have done, right? So I thank him for being there with my presence the way that it was meant to. So that's just the way it is. This is the reality that people of color and immigrants have had to face in this country, where anywhere you go, they don't care what you're qualified in, what your skills are, what your talents are. As soon as they look at you, you're generalized in your religion, in your ethnicity, the way you look. What's the first thing people ask me many times? Hey, you speak perfect English, or what is your ethnic background? Right? I don't say that to them, right? Because indigenous Americans are not of European descent. So I don't say what country in Europe are you from, and when did your family immigrate here? So I never do that to them, because it's an aspect of self-respect, right? So even if you look at the definition of the word American in the Webster Dictionary in the late 1800s, which they don't use that definition anymore. So the word American applies to copper-colored indigenous peoples found in the Americas, but that now term applies to the descendants of the Europeans who had settled here. So that's what it is. I mean, you go to different places, you already have to work 4 times as much harder, 10 times as much harder to prove yourself, and just to get a fraction of what the other person who's white gets right away. That doesn't mean some of them had to grow up with traumatized households or financial issues, or depending on their socioeconomic status. Everyone goes through that. But the aspect of the color of your skin doesn't close those doors on you. They have many doors that are open for them, right? So with myself, you just get stuck in these different things, and even the aspect of what I do on this channel, I had it for the last 3 years. Even the sometimes groups that I deal with, no one will endorse you, no one will support you in any kind of way, and you have to work as 10 times as much harder, put out at 10 times as much more meaningful content, and still get maybe half of what they have. And that is the reality, right? So those that can put 2 and 2 together, they see that, and ultimately, I believe as time goes on, the aspect of white privilege will be defeated. I would give it another 10 to 20 years, or maybe 20 to 30 years, to be generous with the outlook. And I would say, if you look at the young generation now of white people that are going through the education system and knowing things that were basically not taught to you in the history books, like we're taught about all of these different atrocities that take place in human histories, but we're not taught about the genocides that took place against people of color, such as Leopold in Africa, and the Native American genocide, the genocides in Asia. And if you look at the history, and you're thinking, why wasn't any of this stuff taught to me? Why weren't the struggles of these people taught to me? So right now, with the age of the internet, what we're seeing is people are becoming more conscious. So the aspects of what the revised history teaches you, now it's different. And I believe the next generation of white women and men who are growing up in more, I guess, how do you say it, in more integrated areas where they have to deal with other people, and a lot of them are getting education in terms of what is right and what is wrong. And I could definitely see that. I mean, it might not be perfect, but I could see a big difference in the next 20 to 30 years in terms of the global white supremacy hegemony, which has caused division, which has caused wars against black and brown peoples of the world. Not just here. This extends all over globally. And I see this coming to an end. But, you know, myself as a Pakistani Muslim, everywhere I go, before they even get to sit down and know me, it's, you know, who are you and how are you going to prove yourself to me? And, you know, that is very disheartening sometimes. That is disheartening. And that should not be. You should be able to get to know somebody based on their qualifications, the content of their character, who they are as an individual, because good and bad exist everywhere. That's, you know, my community is not immune to that either. I've seen good people from the Pakistani community and the bad ones who are a bad example, right? And that the same applies everywhere else. That's the universal law that the Creator has made this universe with, order and disorder. So that will exist in every race, religion, country, and group of the world. So no one is immune to that. But the aspects of seeing white privilege, and from my side, how it limits opportunities for my people who are trying to progress in this country, and basically to see what is it that makes you limited in many ways. I mean, America calls itself a melting pot, but it's just generally a set of different ethnic enclaves and communities where the white people have their own areas that they want to deal with, and they don't want to, majority of them don't want to live where there are people of color. They want to live in their own areas, work in their own areas, deal with their own. And if any immigrant or a person of color shows up, he's going to have a difficult task ahead of him to try to either prove himself, and the only one that's able to slip past the cracks is one who's basically born and raised here. And even that individual has to deal with many hurdles if he or she is not run out by those that are plotting to run them out or set them up in any way, or basically to see the aspect of working hard and having to work 10 times as hard to prove yourself. And that is an unfair system to deal with. I mean, I'm here in a minority neighborhood, and I could go to a white neighborhood and I just see the quality of life is just 10 times better. They live much better than people of color and immigrants in this country. You walk around nice, clean areas, neighborhoods are safe, the emergency services response time is immediate. You're not fearing for the young ones. You could go around, do what you need to do. If you need a job, it's easy for you to find work. It's easy for you to be in other positions. And being a person of immigrant, the first thing they do is, if you don't know the right people in this country, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. And, you know, unfortunately, that should not be the case. It should be the aspects of your merit, a merit-based system, not based on your race or what you look like or the aspects of who you know. It's about what do you bring to the table. Just like being in a relationship. When you see an individual of the opposite sex, you feel that attraction, but at the end, what is there after that attraction? What are you bringing to the table, right, to sustain the relationship? Are you healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? If you're not, then that foundation is going to crack within a short period of time, because it's not looks ain't everything, and looks aren't the thing that we should judge each other on. And with the way humanity and this country is falling apart globally, I mean, something has got to give, and this stuff should not be there anymore. Where myself as a person of color could go in a white neighborhood and not feel that I could be in danger or that they don't want me here, right? And I mean, my state, there are certain areas where they have billboards up that says whites only. And throughout history, you see aspects of segregation and the billboards, Japs move along, and all that other stuff that you see throughout history. And they just, get away with it. I mean, just look at their recent insurrection that happened last year at the White House, or in the Washington D.C. area, right? Had they been African American, Muslims, that would have been the whole race and religion would have been generalized based on the actions of a few. But they're white. They weren't, regarded as terrorists or criminals, right? And their whole race and religion wasn't generalized. That's the same thing when you see the aspects of school shooting and the priests who are abusing the kids and all this stuff. So just based on their actions, that doesn't mean that's what Western Christianity teaches, or that's what people of European descent do. That would be wrong for me to say that. But see, individuals from that group, handle African Americans or Muslims the same way. Or right now we're seeing this hatred against Asian people. And this is not right. And I've seen, this is what I mean by identifying the white privilege problem and basically solving it through education and awareness. Because if you're not white, then you're always seen as a target. You always have to work 10 times as harder. Everything is limited to you. You're kind of put in this boxed prison system, and you're not allowed to progress beyond a certain field, while those who are born into better families with better opportunities, better neighborhoods, better education, better resources around them, that's basically that advantage. That is that advantage. And I know my white brothers and sisters who are listening to this will understand and see where I'm coming from, right? It's about equality for all. And you look at the prophecy of the Native Americans, you see that one day we will have a future where everyone is equal regardless of race and religion. That's what my faith teaches me. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, says you have to become one ummah regardless of race and religion. The Masonic Brotherhood, which is a path I follow, always teaches us to be on the level. Nobody's above you or beneath you. That is what I mean, that if you see, if you're a white brother and sister listening to this, anywhere where you see injustice taking place, please speak out against it, because your silence is your consent. And we have to be a part of this future together, because the only way we move forward is together. And that's basically it. You see individuals of colors being run out of high positions, or they try to work their way up to high positions and then they get run out, they get targeted, they have limited opportunity. There's so many things that take place. So many things that I can name. But, from my perception, to keep this video under 20 minutes, I hope you were able to see and understand where I was coming from, especially growing up as a Muslim in the post 9/11 world. It's not easy. It's definitely was not an easy experience, but I'm here. And even now I tell them that don't let them push hatred towards anybody. Anybody that's pushing hatred of any kind, they're not an individual of God. Even though this video is titled My Perception of the White Privilege Issue Through My Eyes as a Pakistani-American Muslim Immigrant, I offer the solution to my white brothers and sisters who are listening to this, who are of a good nature and who want to see equality and love between all. Take heed to what I'm saying, because if community by community we become the changes in our communities, involvements, organizations, that's the only way that this problem is going to get solved. And I do see within the next 20 to 30 years, the next generation of white brothers and sisters that are going to be growing up, they will be more educated on these issues. And I believe as time goes on, time does heal all wounds, and hopefully everything does get solved and we live in a country where everyone is equally respected, where they do give you a seat at the table and they do allow you to have a say. Not the aspect of just the honoring the quote-unquote diversity and giving you a seat on the table, but not allowing you to have a say. So please, I hope you all do the right thing, because our world needs it. And I hope you were able to understand things from my eyes as well. Much love and peace be with you and yours. Thank you.